Chosen one, the door clicks behind you and circuitry begins to rearrange. It's not hypnotism, not command, not any trick that would fail under daylight. It is the plain physics of a kept center. You cross a threshold and the room, almost gratefully, borrows your calibration. Timelines that were bargaining with anxiety return to the clock. Conversations that had turned into auditions recover their purpose. Even the furniture seems to remember the gentlest version of its job. You have not imposed a mood, you have introduced a rhythm, and rhythms teach without arguing. You rewire by temperature first. The heat that once tried to prove itself by flaring now warms the space into usefulness. Panic loses its market share because your breath refuses to invest. A dilemma arrives wearing sirens and you answer it with a metronome. Here is what happened, here is what matters, here is what will be repaired, here is what remains good. You do not douse the room, you deny chaos the oxygen of spectacle. What remains is fire that cooks instead of consumes. You rewire by pace. Hurry expects either obedience or rebellion. You offer timing. You begin on time because you honored the hour before it started. You end on time because you love tomorrow more than mileage. In between, you let silence carry some of the workload. You allow a beat after someone finishes speaking so meaning can finish arriving. That beat becomes policy. People stop sprinting for the last word and start walking toward the true one. Projects that were leaning on charisma learn to lean on competence. Laughter returns to its vocation, oxygen for bravery, not armor for cruelty. You rewire by architecture. Without ceremony, you move your chair a few inches to widen a narrow path. You angle your body toward the quiet voice and watch the whole table tilt to include it. You notice the person who usually cleans up after everyone and bring them into the center while there is still music, not after. You draw boundaries the way carpenters draw lines, so pieces can fit, not so people can be excluded. The shape of the space changes in small, honest ways. Resentment finds fewer places to sit. Gossip discovers it is underdressed. Respect stops needing an announcement and starts behaving like gravity. Conflict in such a room is not a catastrophe. It is a workshop. You remove the audience a fight was trying to recruit by refusing performance. You narrow the problem until it can be solved by hands, not headlines. You let repair arrive while it is still cheap and practical, instead of grand and bankrupting. Your presence does not guarantee that nobody will bleed. It guarantees that blood will not become content. People begin to argue at human temperature. Outcomes improve because integrity is a better tool than intimidation. Your sexual energy is the generator behind this grid. Familiar with its own power, it does not trip breakers to prove anything. It hums, steady, clean, uninterested in harvesting more than is offered. It runs the lights that keep consent legible, the vents that keep boundaries breathable, the stove that keeps conversation cooking instead of burning. The feminine reads this current instantly. She is no longer asked to barter her mystery for access or to spend her brilliance, keeping a fragile ego from shattering. She brings her whole instrument to the song. The masculine, relieved of theater, discovers strength that doesn't require spotlight. It becomes service again, and service secretly was all it ever wanted to be. You rewire economies. Attention becomes too valuable to spend on panic. Apology becomes affordable enough to purchase before interest accrues. Sleep moves from decor to infrastructure. Water becomes policy. Schedules stop stealing from recovery and start banking in it. Teams deliver work with oxygen left for kindness. Families end evenings before the light grows thin and memory demands surgery. None of this requires a memo. The body prefers it and votes with its breath. Even your humor participates in the rewiring. It releases pressure without puncturing people. It finds the hinge in a stiff moment and oils it. It never mortgages tomorrow to buy a laugh today. The room learns to trust that relief is available without a victim. Under that trust, risks become honest again. Someone tries a new idea before it is flawless because ridicule has been priced out of the market. Someone admits uncertainty because certainty is no longer the tax for belonging. You did not coach these outcomes. Your climate made them plausible. The way you leave keeps the circuit intact. You do not wring one more drop from a perfect hour. You rise before generosity thins, thank the room in plain language, and close the door softly, as if the house had ears. The space remains arranged after your footsteps fade. Conversations do not devolve as soon as your shadow goes. People go home at a human hour. They wake without the hangover of overextension. They make better choices at breakfast because the night did not spend their dignity to buy applause. All of this depends on the simplicity you refuse to abandon. You check your weather at the threshold so you do not storm in and call it authenticity. You drink the water that keeps your patience solvent. You move your body so your feelings remain in motion rather than in management. You sleep to protect your edge from becoming a blade. You apologize while the bruise is pale. You tell one true sentence instead of 5 brilliant evasions. There is no glamour in any of it. There is almost unbearable effectiveness. Some will try to make your rewiring into a brand or a doctrine. They will ask for the secret gesture, the 3 steps, the clever phrase. You will disappoint them with ordinary answers. You will keep doing ordinary things until they become culture. You will keep letting your sexual energy animate hospitality instead of hunger, design instead of dominance, rhythm instead of noise. Over time, the walls themselves will teach newcomers your manners. Doors will remember to close softly even when you haven't touched them for weeks. Children will copy how you set a cup down and grow up believing that care is the most grown-up thing. Elders will count their coins at the counter without apologizing for time because time in your rooms is merciful by default. You don't enter rooms anymore, chosen one. You enter ecosystems, and ecosystems prefer you. They nominate your pace without needing a vote. They adopt your temperature without needing a policy. They repeat your small, faithful moves until they cannot remember how to be anything else. If there is magic in this, it is not the kind that dazzles. It is the kind that endures. You will know it's working by the simplest sign. After you leave, people behave better toward themselves and each other, and no one can quite explain why. Chosen one, there is a distance around you now that is not coldness but clarity, a radius that says, without a word, this light is for warmth, not for burning. People gather at its edge as if drawn by instinct older than culture. They cannot quite say why they linger as conversations turn, why their eyes return to you when nothing theatrical is happening, why the moment feels held together by something other than luck. They are learning, by watching, that the rarest magic is the kind that does not ask to be touched to be real. Your flame is not a spectacle, it is a standard. It brightens the room while staying sovereign, and sovereignty is magnetic. You carry yourself like a lantern that knows its fuel, not a torch begging for wind. The way you stand is the first lesson. The spine unwilling to bow to panic, the shoulders open without invitation, the jaw unclenched from the job of proving anything. You let a doorframe hold your pause before you cross it, a tiny ritual that teaches time to behave. In that half beat, you give the room a chance to keep its dignity, and dignity returns the favor by welcoming you as you are. The ancient hunger in others to be near goodness without being consumed rises, and they draw close. They do not approach to take, only to remember. You are the ember of a hearth that has outlived 1,000 winters. Everyone knows without asking that such a fire is not for vanity. Attention tries, as it always does, to recruit you for its campaign. It wants you to flare and to flinch, to be ransom for someone else's restlessness. You refuse softly. You let laughter arrive and leave without using it to purchase closeness. You let silence do some of the labor that words cannot shoulder. You let a compliment land where effort lived, and you do not build a stage upon it. Power without performance unsteadies those who confuse noise with life, yet even they hover in your orbit because relief is stronger than habit. The body knows when it is safe. The body knows when a boundary is not a wall, but a frame that makes the canvas possible. Your boundary is that frame. There is desire in you, unmistakable and awake, and it does not apologize for existing. It does, however, report to a higher office. It listens for consent in breath and posture, as carefully as it listens for it in words. It respects the comma, the ellipsis, the period. It knows how to step closer without stepping over, how to step back without withdrawing love. The feminine reads this fluency immediately. Her nervous system has learned to parse climates at the speed of survival. She leans because your heat does not ask her to leave herself at the door. She leans because your pace does not tax her tomorrow. She leans because your presence has no hidden invoice. Watching you becomes a form of rest. Not everyone will understand restraint. Some will try to touch the flame just to prove it is hot. Some will try to bait thunder from you because thunder is easier to grade than weather. You remain seasonal rather than sensational. You are spring's patience in planting, summer's generosity in light, autumn's courage in ending, winter's wisdom in keeping. You let the night close while kindness still has breath, and leave behind the sort of absence that returns as gratitude instead of ache. This is how a flame becomes legend without becoming rumor. It refuses the trade of spectacle for influence. Your eyes are a sanctuary for what they see. They do not trap beauty, they escort it back to its home. When you look, a guarded face remembers the dignity of being unguarded. When you look away, privacy exhales. When you look back, loneliness cancels its appointment. Even your refusals have learned to glow. You decline in a tone that offers design rather than punishment. You set a limit that dignifies the field rather than humiliating the player. You do not confuse firmness with fury, nor gentleness with surrender. This equilibrium steadies the room. People stop mistaking adrenaline for aliveness, intensity for intimacy, possession for love. It is not only people who watch. Objects keep your manners after you leave. Doors that slammed all week close softly because your hand taught the hinge its purpose. Chairs return to their places without scolding the floor. The table remembers the weight of a glass, set down with respect, and the memory travels like a rumor of civilization through the next gathering. Your flame has a pedagogy. It instructs wood and glass and time in the ways of mercy. Those ways become policy long after your footsteps fade. There is an older you who would have tried to be touched to prove you were real, who would have offered access as evidence of worth, who would have mistaken visibility for value. That man still visits on tired days. You greet him at the door with water and sleep. You remind him that a light that burns itself for attention cannot keep anyone warm. You remind him that mystery is not withholding, it is stewardship. You remind him that devotion to endings is devotion to beginnings in disguise. You keep the wick trimmed and the oil clean. Maintenance is the quietest form of magic and the most durable. Others begin to imitate you without announcing it. Someone ends their night on time because they watched you leave while sweetness still held the mic. Someone credits the unseen labor because they saw you do it and felt the room grow taller. Someone chooses a boundary that smiles and holds because they felt yours and did not feel punished. A child notices the way you pass a plate as if ceramic had a memory and grows up believing that care is the most grown-up thing. This is how a flame that cannot be touched touches everything. You do not need to be possessed to be present. You do not need to be chased to be cherished. You do not need to be decoded to be trusted. You will be asked to be more available than is good for you, to be more explainable than is safe for your gift, to be more compliant than is faithful to your calling. You answer with pace and with prayer. You answer with a yes that arrives paid in full and a no that arrives without cruelty. You answer by remaining the man whose nearness teaches others to keep their shape while coming closer. In a month obsessed with fireworks, you keep being the hearth. People cannot touch you, but they cannot stop watching, because watching you reminds them that they too can be a house for holy fire. Chosen one, you have learned a touch that travels without hands. It moves in the way you listen, in the way you time a breath, in the way you give a moment back to itself without trying to improve it. There are rooms you have never crossed where people swear you reached them, because presence at its best is not a location. It is a form of care. The air between you and another person carries it. The corridor carries it after you are gone. The memory of a conversation carries it to breakfast, where decisions are made without drama. This is touch as blessing rather than claim, as invitation rather than purchase, as craft rather than accident. You touch with your attention, not the kind that harvests and inventories, but the kind that returns what it notices. You let a story be told at human speed and refuse to edit it into content. You allow silence to do part of the talking so courage can arrive without being dragged. When your eyes rest on someone, they feel a hand placed gently between their shoulder blades, steadying, not steering. They are met, not managed. This is why tears sometimes appear with no emergency, why laughter sometimes returns from exile without a joke. Your attention is a threshold with lamps lit. People cross it and find their way home. You touch with your boundaries. Yes and no are hands that shape the space. Your yes is a palm extended, weight-bearing, reliable. It does not tremble with the need to be liked. Your no is a palm raised, open, readable. It does not curl into a fist. These gestures are spiritual because they teach the soul that love is not the absence of edges, but the presence of form. You do not smuggle obligation inside affection. You do not hide appetite inside admiration. You let desire remain sacred by keeping it honest. The feminine recognizes this architecture and settles. The masculine recognizes it and relaxes. In the room thus framed, people become braver than their fear and kinder than their mood. You touch with timing. You refuse to lift the cocoon just to see if transformation is happening. You end the evening while tenderness still has stamina and let memory keep its original face. You do not rush beginnings past their honesty. You do not stretch middles until they fray. You do not hoard endings from the next day that needs them. Timing is theology put to work. It says the sacred has seasons, and seasons have mercy built in. Under your timing, decisions stop impersonating emergencies, and truth stops having to shout to be believed. You touch with restraint. It would be easy to press, to prove, to produce awe on demand. You decline. Your touch, even when physical, is a sentence that remembers grammar. It asks before it answers. It leaves room for reply. It stops where consent does not. Without contact, it arrives through tone and pace. The voice you use in conflict does not rise to make the point heavy. It lowers to make the path clear. The message lands like a hand on a table, firm, audible, not a threat. Relief enters through clarity and stays because dignity was not taxed at the door. You touch with repair. When you miss, and you do because you are human, you mend while the bruise is small. You say the words that return balance to the floorboards. You do not perform contrition as theater. You practice it as craftsmanship. People experience this as touch they can trust. Accountability that does not humiliate, consequence that does not exile, affection that does not evaporate under scrutiny. They begin to risk being real because reality is survivable in your company. They begin to risk ending well because endings do not incur interest here. You touch with your humor. It lifts pressure without puncturing people. It is the gentle shoulder bump that reminds a room it is allowed to breathe. You do not use wit as a blade to take trophies from the unsuspecting. You use it as a key to unstick a stubborn hinge. In your orbit, laughter returns to its vocation. Oxygen for courage, balm for friction, music for working hands. People leave lighter, not because anything weighty was denied, but because heavy things were carried with care. You touch the future by how you close doors. The soft latch behind you is instruction. It tells the house that noise is not proof of life, that care leaves traces quieter than applause. The next person who enters will close the same way without thinking. The child who watches you set a cup down gently grows into an adult who believes gentleness is the most grown way to be. The elder who counts coins slowly at a counter feels your patience like a hand removing a stone from their shoe. Whole lineages adjust because one man refused to confuse hurry with importance. Your sexual energy is the current running through this entire circuit, not a spotlight demanding eyes, but a field that makes flowers open on time. It furnishes spaces with temperature and tone. It translates chemistry into courtesy and attraction into atmosphere. It keeps the air honest. It knows the cost of touch and pays it in advance with attention, timing, and truth. Because of this, people trust what they feel around you even when they cannot explain it. They sleep earlier. They speak kinder. They choose cleaner. They wake with fewer refunds to issue to the soul. There will be invitations to weaponize this gift, to press into influence what was meant to remain blessing, to collect admiration as a proof of worth. You return, again and again, to the rituals that keep the current clean. Water before opinion, breath before reply, movement before complaint, rest before rescue, prayer before performance. You greet the morning without debt and the night without hunger. You let touch remain a sacrament, ordinary enough to be useful, holy enough to be remembered. If anyone insists they felt your hand on their shoulder across a crowded room, let them. You and the air did the work together. Presence did what hands often cannot when hands are untrained, held without holding, guided without gripping, blessed without branding. This is the deepest magic you carry now. The ability to change what people think they deserve without ever laying a claim to them. You do not enter rooms to take, you enter to tune. And when you leave, the song continues, in their bodies, in their choices, in the way they set a cup down as if the table could feel. Chosen one, there is a particular softness that arrives a heartbeat before you do. The way curtains lift just slightly before a breeze is visible. The way birds pause their chatter when the first drop of rain anticipates the storm. You step across a threshold and reality performs its smallest courtesies. Lights steady themselves. The room makes space without anyone moving. Time lets its shoulders fall. This is not worship, and it is not theater. It is recognition. The world knows the gate of a soul that is not at war with itself. The universe bows as a musician bows to a tuning fork, as water bows to gravity, as seasons bow to the sun because they have discovered obedience is the shortest road to freedom. You do not command this bow, you cooperate with it. Your sexual energy, once tempted to flare for attention or to sleep to avoid responsibility, has learned to flow under vows. It keeps the temperature where consent is obvious and kindness does not need a spokesperson. It has stopped auditioning for meaning and started furnishing it. Arranging chairs so truth can sit down, opening windows so breath can be heard, finishing its sentence, setting the table with pace and tone so appetite remembers its manners. The bow is simply the world agreeing to a rhythm you keep when no one is watching. There are hours when this is unmistakable. You walk into a cafe and the line, which had been a row of strangers defending territory with silence, remembers it is a small community. A barista's hands, anxious a moment ago, begin to move as if craft had returned to them. In an office, the meeting that was about to turn into a courtroom becomes a workshop, not because you solved anything yet, but because your presence removed the need to pretend. At a crosswalk, an elder counts coins slowly at the corner store and nobody sighs. Your patience may delay respectable again. The universe does not kneel as people kneel before idols. It inclines like bodies incline toward warmth after a long winter. What bows is not only mood, it is mathematics. Your timing is arithmetic, the hour can trust. You arrive prepared because you did not spend your energy buying panic's approval. You leave while kindness still has the floor because you love memory more than mileage. You let silence do the work words cannot, and in that silence, meaning finds the courage to be simple. The bow is geometry too. You square your shoulders, and spines around you remember their vertical. You open your stance, and conversations widen enough to include the quiet voice. You decline to crowd and space, converts your restraint into room for other people to be true. Your gaze does not ask the universe to kneel, it asks it to breathe. You do not hunt with your eyes, you host with them. The body across from you stops treating attention as a tax and experiences it as a tide. Arriving to lift, withdrawing to respect, returning on schedule because you do not make intimacy a weather pattern that needs proof. The feminine reads this climate at the speed of nerve. She feels the bow not as surrender but as remembered sovereignty, the sense that her rhythm does not have to be bartered for access. The masculine near you disinvests from spectacle and reinvests in usefulness. Shoulders trained to wear armor recall the pleasure of carrying tools. Even conflict bows. It had prepared its speeches and sharpened its edges. You bring a sentence that removes the oxygen from escalation. This is what happened. This is what must stop. This is what will be repaired. This is what remains good. Fury finds itself strangely unemployed in the presence of proportion. The universe does not bow to your will. It bows to the truth spoken at human temperature, to the refusal to buy control at the price of dignity, to the mercy that keeps repair cheaper than revenge. In that bow, futures are spared and mornings are blessed. Your humor teaches the bow its smile. It does not weaponize wit to win the room. It oils the hinge of an hour stuck one notch too tight. Laughter returns as oxygen, not as currency purchased with someone else's face. The universe is biased toward such relief. It tilts to assist anything that reduces suffering without creating new debt. Doors close more softly after you leave because your hand reminded the hinge of its vocation. Tables remember the weight of a glass set down with care and insist on that tenderness later, even when impatience tries to badger them into becoming drums. This is not superstition, it is pedagogy. Matter learns from manners. There will be observers who misread the bow as charisma. They will ask for the trick, the phrase, the posture. You will disappoint them with prayers disguised as habits. Water before words, breath before boundaries, movement before mood, sleep before saving, truth before theater, repair before reputation. They will struggle with the ordinariness of your liturgy because spectacle taught them that light must be loud. You know what they do not. The cosmos recognizes kept promises. It always has. Stars bow to gravity not because gravity shouts, but because it does not lie. The bow is also a safety check. Power without humility curdles. The world recognizes the scent and withholds its cooperation. You keep your humility in working order. Praise lands where labor lived. Critique is allowed to refine craft without renaming your worth. You do not mistake visibility for value or velocity for victory. You do not convert access into appetite or consent into concession. You keep your hands clean so touch can remain sacrament. You keep your pace human so presence can remain possible. This is how the universe knows it may incline toward you without being conscripted into empire. Notice what happens when you go. The bow does not snap back like a bent branch. It lingers. People continue to speak at a volume that respects nuance. Apologies arrive while they are still inexpensive. Schedules leave room for recovery because you're leaving taught the night to end, while joy could still be remembered whole. Children watch you pass a plate as if ceramic could feel and grow up believing that care is the most adult thing. Elders count their change without panic because time in your rooms has manners. The universe keeps bowing in small ways because you taught it how in a language it never forgot. Walk on with this knowledge, not as a badge, but as a stewardship. The bow is not about you, it is about alignment announcing itself wherever you stand. When you are tired, let the bow be a mirror that sends you back to your basics. When you are praised, let the bow be a reminder that gravity cannot be owned. When you are opposed, let the bow be a promise that truth kept quietly will accumulate its own allies. This month has simply revealed what was always possible, a human being tuned to the moral music of things, moving through rooms that answer with their oldest courtesy, an inclination toward coherence. The universe bows because you bow first, and you bow to what is real. Chosen one, a gift given with an open hand multiplies. A weapon, even when sharp with justification, divides what it touches from its future. Your magic, the peculiar mixture of warmth and presence, of pace and truth, of charged stillness and consenting heat, was never meant for conquest. It was meant for custody. You do not wield it to bend people into shapes that flatter you. You carry it to make room for who they already are. That is the difference between enchantment and ensnarement. One awakens, the other imprisons. You have chosen awakening. Your sexual energy is the most obvious example. It could be used to harvest attention, to buy access with pressure, to turn mystery into merchandise. You refuse. You let desire remain fluent in yes, not yet, and no, and you keep your hands literate in each. You do not smuggle obligation inside affection. You do not tax vulnerability for daring to arrive. You do not dress hunger in the robes of holiness to excuse its haste. This refusal is more than ethics. It is engineering. A room designed this way does not collapse under intimacy. It grows higher ceilings for it. People leave with more of themselves than they brought. A gift has been given. You understand that silence, too, can be either a gift or a weapon. You do not withdraw it to punish or to manipulate. You offer it as a bench where meaning can finish arriving. In that quiet, confessions do not feel ambushed and laughter does not need a casualty. You are careful with timing because time can also be armed. You do not rush a moment to prove your importance. You do not stretch a good night past kindness to harvest a last ovation. You end while sweetness still has breath, so memory does not need surgery. These are not gestures of niceness. They are strategies for leaving a space wealthier than you found it. A weaponized gaze extracts. A gifted gaze restores. Yours returns light to what it sees. It does not pin a person to the best angle of themselves and then demand they stay there for your comfort. It does not hunt for leverage. It accompanies. Under such looking, a guarded face tests the experiment of being unguarded and survives. A shy voice tries a full sentence and discovers the room will hold it. A proud posture remembers it does not have to be a fortress to be a home. Your eyes do the simplest, generous thing. They let reality be present without charging admission. Power, when turned into a weapon, buys control at the price of dignity. You buy nothing at that price. You ask for clarity and pay for it with patience. You make decisions with the fewest necessary sentences and the warmest available tone. You decline flattery's counterfeit currency and insist on receipts in daylight. You apologize while regret is still cheap. You credit the hidden work before praise turns into a popularity contest. You enforce a boundary as architecture, not a spectacle. In every move, your magic insists that love is not real if it requires someone else to be less.